income set-aside. This can legitimately be a big problem for people. That is to say, when it comes to the income set-aside, sometimes it's not just that staff isn't paying attention. Sometimes it's just that staff is having a difficult time trying to figure out how we're going to help very low-income people, especially, in a market where housing is so expensive, a very low-income person couldn't buy it or whatever. And here is the specific rule. You'll notice that there's two parts to the income set-aside rule. First part, at least 30% of your money has to be dedicated to very low-income people. This time, when I'm talking about 30% of your money, I mean not just the distribution plus recap, I mean every source of revenue. Your distribution, your program income, recaptured funds, and carry forward funds. Everything. Oh, you got a little extra money for disaster? That counts too. Every source of revenue counts towards this rule. 30% of your entire pot of revenue for the, for example, 0506 distribution. The second rule, at least 60% of your money must be dedicated to very low income or low income people. So that's kind of combining them together. Two rules that must both be met at the same time. So let's just put this all together. You could provide 30% of your money to very low income people and another 30% to low income people. That adds up to 60. Fine, we've met both rules. You could provide 40% to very low income people, 20% to low. That also equals 60%, and we've met both rules. But you couldn't offer only 20% to very low income people and 40% to low. That adds up to 60%, but we haven't met the first rule, which means that 30% must go to very low income people. Okay, so that can very often be the challenging part of meeting this income set aside, is this first rule right there. And so consider, I've been talking about very low income and low income. I haven't said anything about moderate income, and that's because there is no quota for moderate income people. You can help moderate income people to the extent that it doesn't cause you to deviate from compliance with the income set aside. So let's do the math again. If at least 60% of your money has to be dedicated to very low and low income people, and then you have another 10% for your admin budget, that's up to 70%. Oh, well that would mean that no more than 30% of your money could be dedicated to helping moderate income people. So again, here's a reason why we have to keep track of the people that we're assisting. In several of your communities, it's not uncommon that you're helping moderate income people. Now, I want you to know, there's some communities I go into, they don't help anybody with moderate income. Sometimes their LHAP specifically says, we don't help moderate income people. Sometimes it's just a function of their selection process that pretty much assistance is prioritized to very low or low income people. But in a lot of communities, you help people purchase homes. Moderate income people are always easier to help purchase homes. They have higher incomes. They can qualify for more mortgage money. I mean, that is to say, if their credit's any good. And so we see a lot of communities that do provide assistance to moderate income people, and you just have to be careful. You have to regularly track your money so as to avoid accidentally helping too many moderate income people. To get back to this, the second statement then, let me paint you a picture of a scenario where a moderate income person is currently not available for assistance. And this scenario is with a community that doesn't have a whole lot of money. Say they get the $350,000 or maybe $400,000 of money every time they get a distribution. That money doesn't go far enough. And so they've already used all their 0506 money. Let's say that they've used all their 0607 money already too. And they're almost through spending all their 0708 money. Well, it's going to be this summer before they get any more money. They have another $75,000 worth of assistance. And they're looking at how well they have met their set-aside requirement, and they've discovered, uh-oh, we haven't spent quite enough on, just to change the scenario up, we haven't spent enough on low-income people. Let's say they've spent enough on very low. but they're a little bit short. They're $60,000 short of meeting their low-income part of this quota. So in a case like that then, the next person in line is a moderate income person. They need $20,000 to buy a house. Well, guess what? We don't have $20,000 to help a moderate income person right now. That person is currently ineligible for assistance because we have a higher priority. We have to meet this set-aside requirement between now and June 30th of 2008. And so in a case like that, we can't simply say, oh, well, we'll give them we'll give this moderate income person assistance from another pot of money. In the scenario I just painted, there's no other pot of money. We're just waiting for more money to come in when July 1st comes around. So in a case like this, you just have to tell that moderate income person, you are the next one in line, but you're not eligible for assistance until we have more money to help you, because we have this priority issue of our income set-aside that we have to comply with for right now. But that doesn't usually happen. The scenario that I've given you, as I've already mentioned earlier, is one that's a little unusual because people don't tend to run out of money. People don't tend to spend their money so quickly that they really are just kind of sitting on their hands for like 5 months of the year or something like that, waiting for more money. But it has happened. I've seen it before.
Michael, I'm trying to remember, is there a specific set-aside for extremely low-income folks?
Well, that's a great question. Because, these days, so the answer is no. And let's talk about that a little bit. These days, as I was mentioning earlier, the SHIP statute now has a definition for extremely low-income households. These days, on the annual reports, you have to report on how many extremely low-income households you've assisted. But that is not to say that anything has changed about this basic income set-aside requirement. You still have only to address the housing needs of very low and low-income people. But let's recognize that extremely low-income people, those who have an income that's 30% of AMI or less, that group of people is a subgroup of all very low-income people. Very low-income, 50% AMI or below, right? And so if you are helping ELI households, that does help you meet the set-aside requirement because ELI households count towards the VLI portion of this income set-aside. But in and of itself, there's no quota for a certain portion of money that has to be dedicated to ELI. And as you can imagine, especially in communities where they're having a difficult enough time reaching enough very low-income people, they may not help any ELI households. Whereas other communities, maybe a majority of the money that they're using just happens to be assisting extremely low-income people.
Well, Michael, welcome for HHRP. You guys have